जय जय सुरनायक जन सुखदायक प्रणत पाल भगवंता गोद्विज हितकारी जय असुरारी सिंधु सुता प्रिय कंता पालन सुरधरणी अद्भुत करणी मरम न जाने कोई जो सहज कृपाला दीन दयाला करहु अनुग्रह सोई करहु अनुग्रह सोई। जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी विरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिपासर ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा। जेहि सृष्टि उपाई त्रिविध बनाई संग सहाय न दूजा सो करहु आधारी चिंत हमारी जानिय भगति न पूजा। जो भव भय भंजन मुनि मनरंजन गंजन विपरीत रूठा मन बच क्रम मानी छाड़ी सयानी शरण सकल सुर झूठा शरण सकल सुर झूठा। सारद श्रुति शेषा ऋषय अशेषा जाकहु कोई न जाना जेहि दीन पियारे वेद पुकारे द्रवहु श्री भगवाना। भव भारिति मंदर सब विधि सुंदर गुण मंदिर सुख पूंजा मुनि सिद्ध सकल सुर परम भयातुर नमत नाथ पद कंजा नमत नाथ पद कंजा। जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी विरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिपासर ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा।
Something is coming to say, which is that all of you by now are familiar with the construct of these two force fields that I'm talking about. Okay? So, One force field is that of Maya. Okay? And we get attached, or we find a place, or we make a home in that force field of Maya by buying into thoughts, identifying with beliefs, taking the notions of me which are offered by the mind, we take them to be our reality. And when we take them to be our reality, then it seems like this world is reality, the world of appearances, the world of change, that is the reality. And the notions of God, the idea of living in His presence, the idea of living in your heart temple seems far-fetched. Now, it is a lot of work to live there. In the sense, to build a home in your true place is a lot of work, but maybe even more work is to build your home in the false place. You see? And the constant work that we are doing is identifying with our thoughts. You see? Because these don't have long-lasting power. If you believe a thought now and you don't reinvigorate it by more belief, then what power does it have? So suppose you believe that your friend has been horrible with you. Thought it once. How long does the aftertaste last? Few seconds, maybe a minute or two, maybe 5 minutes. You see? But the mind revisits that over and over again, and we buy into that over and over again, and that is how we actually have made almost a permanent house in the realm of Maya, in this constant working on the false, constant nourishment that we give to the false. You see? That is the way we've been there. Or we live like that. Now, from the reports that I get from all of you, sometimes I feel like you're not really using the tools at your disposal fully. You see? So, if your life is going to be full of prayer and full of inquiry, tell me how you can live in the false place. What would you do? You're buying a thought. My friend is a horrible person. Horrible, horrible. Huh? You bought it. But you're leading a prayer life. No? So then you're returning to your prayer. No? You're returning to your chanting, whatever prayer you're using, you're returning to that. Then you've broken that condition, you've broken that pattern. You see? And if you stay with it, then that pattern is gone. For that moment, it's gone. You see? So if you stay with your prayer for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or if you stay with the inquiry, who am I? When the thought comes, when it offers itself up again, you say, who is witnessing this thought? Then the pattern is broken because you've disidentified in that process. You see? So, to have a prayerful life or a life full of jnana, full of inquiry, and yet to suffer from the conditions of living in the false force field, the false place, you see, that is a bit contradictory, and it would be very difficult to actually make that happen. So, which aspect of it, you see, is actually not true? That is what you have to evaluate. You see, that either the aspect which you report, which says that yes, I am praying all the time, you see, and yet I am suffering, both those things can't go together. Because like we saw, to suffer needs constant reinforcement of the thought pattern, of belief in the thought pattern. You see? So if you are feeling like that is your condition, that you are praying all the time, and let's bundle inquiry into the word prayer as well. To be empty, head empty, full-hearted is also prayer. So let's say to have a prayerful life in whichever path of prayer you have, and yet then to feel like you're living in this false realm of Maya, you see, that is not possible. You see? And that you must really be observant about what is really happening with you. To really slow things down. Really slow things down, because the mind won't want you to. It'll say it is like this, it is like that, I am praying all the time, but also I am stuck in this and I am stuck in that. But it doesn't let you look, because you take your conclusions to be true over your actual, even observation. And of course, I don't need to say that if you're not praying all the time, then you must. Then you must. There is no other way to live. The other way is not living. You see, so I'm not saying that this is the best way to live. I'm saying that this is the only way to live. You see, it is not that you live a dead life and then return to prayer when the dead life seems too hellish. You see, sometimes we do that. But it is to lead a prayerful life no matter what is happening on the outside. And then prayerful life means to live in God's presence, to invoke God's presence, whether it is felt tangibly or not, but to stay facing only Him. You see, in whatever way, whether bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, any other type of yoga, but to stay facing Him. There is no yoga or type of spiritual path unless you become inward facing. You see, so all the pathways to God are pathways for you to become inward facing. You see, so whatever you're doing, it has to be unceasing. The fact that you turn inwards has to be unceasing, nirantar. Whether it is nirantar japa or nirantar inquiry. So unceasing prayer, unceasing inquiry, but unceasingly remaining empty, facing God in our heart. Whichever path you feel works best. Now, really look at your life over the past, let's say, 1 week, 2 weeks, a month. And notice either you lived beautifully in God's presence, in the heavenly light of God, even if you cannot report that you taste clearly, yet to face Him is to live in peace. You see? Yeah? It is not said antarmukhi, then Bhagwan se mile, tab sada sukhi. Let me translate. The sages have not said inward facing, meeting God's presence, and then always happy. They have just said inward facing, always happy. You see? That means that whether we can say that we can see His unperceivable light in our heart altar or not, we are already free from suffering. So over the past few days, I noticed a bit of contradiction in many reports that I'm getting from all of you, where your idea is that you're praying all the time, and yet you seem to be suffering. Now, either the sages were wrong about antarmukhi sadasukhi, inward facing, always happy, or there is a contradiction somewhere in your report, and I don't worry about that. You can report anything, but the point is that this may be a blind spot which you are not seeing for yourself. It may be a blind spot which you're not, which is hiding behind something, not letting you see. Yeah, so this blind spot could be anything. No? The blind spot could be, yes, I am praying all the time, which is conceptual. You see, it could be a conceptual idea. So that could be a blind spot which is preventing you from turning inwards. You see, by creating narratives and making you buy into the notion of always inward facing. Or it could be that yes, all that is fine, but I want to be right about this. So it could be this idea of being right, as if that being right will get you a trophy or will get you something. You see? In a way that is, wanting to be right is pride. So, and where is it all going to lead? It's all going to lead to nothingness and death. So, and there could be other ideas that, but I need to turn outwards to do work, how to have relationships, how to take care of the body, or even to be spiritual, to talk spiritual things with my friends. I need to go become outward facing. None of that is true. See? There is no reason to be outward facing when we can always be inward facing. There is never a good enough reason to change that perspective. Now, does this mean that I am saying that I am always inward facing? No, of course not. You see, because I get tempted by Maya, I get trapped by Maya from time to time. But at least to recognize that is very important. You see? So, can I report to all of you that I am praying all the time? I can't. You see? That's why I wonder sometimes how you are able to do it. And I'm very, very happy with that. Of course, I'm very happy if it is true. You see? But then the contradiction of praying and suffering at the same time is not possible. You see? Now, another way, sorry if I'm just something that is coming strongly to say, so I'll just say them and then we can talk more. But another way to be in unceasing prayer is to just follow His will. You see? So what happens is that you pray, and then you come to a place where a full allowing where you're following His will. Okay? But you could also determine for yourself that I will only follow His will. Okay? And then you come to the place of prayer. So it all comes to the same place. You see? So this following His will, to sacrifice your own idea of what you want and what you want to do, okay? And allow His light to unfold through you, okay? Is another way of constantly being in unceasing prayer. Okay? But for this you have to be really empty. To be really empty. So let's make a list of 10 reasons when it is okay to leave God. Let's make it now, because otherwise after Satsang I'll get them. So let's make a list of 10 reasons when it is okay to leave God. What would be on that list? Habit. No, in the sense that habit is like I smoke, but I don't want to. You see, so I'm saying 10 actual reasons when it is actually worthwhile, sensible, heartfelt to leave God.
Maintaining relationships, I do that.
You use that as a reason. Is it a good one? Is it a good reason? How is that working out? How does that work out? When you try to maintain relationships without God's presence in them, what happens to those relationships? What is the texture of those relationships? What is the love in that relationship? It is all about grasping, all about wanting. So it's not really a relationship worth having if it needs you to be out of God's light. This is literally a hellish relationship.
Father, recently you said about, you were saying this forever, about prayer and contemplation go hand in hand. And this is really complimenting.
Yes.
And when I started evaluating prayer at every moment, then only realize that you think you are open and empty, but it's not actually.
Exactly.
Some random chat in between, he asked, how is the prayer going? That was like, am I really praying or I'm just talking and praying? So those are really good, a good scale to come back again. And rather, I was contemplating how Maya works, because
Can you just illustrate that for a moment, because it's a very important point.
which one, pardon?
Can't hear, so closer. So I'll just repeat what he said
I was a
also.
bit far. Yeah.
So I'll just make that point again, which he said. He said that to check whether I'm praying all the time is really good, because otherwise I was building an idea that I'm just open and empty all the time. You see? And we've talked about this often, that if we can be open and empty all the time, which is that I can just float in space, then walking should be really easy. Okay? And walking supported by the earth should be really easy. In the same way, if you're just able to be empty all the time, then to use the support, the crutches of the prayer, then should be exceptionally straightforward. You see? But when we try to do it, many of us found that actually we were just thinking that we are empty all the time. But actually we realize that there's so many thought patterns which we buy in the middle of our prayer itself. And because we notice that it is not Ram Ram going on, it is something else, then it puts more light onto that. You see? So just I was going to illustrate that a bit more. So, of course, to be empty is to live in the cloud of unknowing. It is a very, very high prayer. So there's nothing at all wrong with it, but we have to really check on it for ourselves. So suppose that you were given by your teacher a practice to chant Ram all the time. See? So you're saying Ram, 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 Ram. Then the thought comes, okay, what's for dinner? Ram. Then, but you notice the break in flow more starkly, maybe not necessarily in the first thought, but soon enough you will notice it. Okay? So it's quite easy to notice what breaks are the pattern of our prayer. Okay? But when we just determine, and it is very good to be empty, but maybe it is not as easy. So when we say, okay, we'll be just empty, this is empty. It's empty. Then thought comes, what's for dinner? Maybe it'll be good to get some Chinese. Because you're comparing it to empty space, that distinction may not be fully clear yet, in the sense that you don't notice fully that it is breaking the pattern of your japa. Is this illustration making sense? I don't know if you can see it like that.
Yeah, I can.
Please.
I can relate to the same one.
Yes, please.
So when I'm saying open and empty, right, and if I'm not praying right now, right, but I feel I'm open and empty, but it's just a thought of open and empty. As soon as I start validating that, can I pray in this stage? And then when I start with Ram, then I realize my previous state was just thought. Now when I'm with Ram and I'm open and empty, that's the only combination, that's the only time it's true. Else, I'm sure it is it is not lost in thoughts, but still not open and empty. I am aware, I'm thinking consciously, but I'm still not open and empty unless I pray. This is what I could observe.
So, and many times you will see that your prayer itself will make you empty. Yeah? So it may become just organic, where it becomes a japa, and then you may notice that prayer is happening from a deeper place, like your heart is praying. But you may also come to a place where you're just praying wordlessly. It is the same as open and empty. So the prayer of quiet, or the prayer without words, is also very beautiful. So what is the way to check whether we are fooling ourselves or not? Yeah? So the absence of prolonged suffering, and when I say prolonged, I mean half an hour or more. So the absence of this kind of state where you get into these states for hours on end, you see, then we can be pretty sure that we are not either empty or praying. But more importantly, the sense that you are with God, you see, the sense that you are with God, whether you can confirm that His light is apparent to you without fireworks, without any perceptions, or not. But you have the sense of just being cradled by Him in His lap, to live in a spiritual notion of yourself, you see, and yet not really living in God's presence and not living surrounded by His love would be as wasted a life as leading a worldly life. So we must just remain inward facing. Whichever tool helps us do that.
How do we know this emotion?
Like this, that's exactly what we're saying, that if you have these times, prolonged times of suffering, you find yourself troubled for a few minutes, half an hour, this kind of thing is like you can't do it. Like try to be antarmukhi, inward facing, and be troubled. You can't do it.
That propels us to
Yes. So to use that as a inspiration to return is good. Okay? So why am I sharing all this? So all of us can learn to live this way of life, because it's the completely overhauled way of life. It's complete change of the operating system. We're no longer living from here as the center. We're living from the heart as the center.
More dangerous time is when there is no suffering, actually.
Yeah.
To be away from God, where
Yeah.
we are most likely to buy in whatever mind is saying.
But grace is good because those times are very short. Like, also what happens, okay, that's a very good point. What happens is that what I used to call suffering earlier is not what I call suffering now. What I used to call suffering earlier was like really get into these mind states and this kind of thing. So I would call that point suffering. Here now, like just that sense of like a yuckiness, that itself is suffering enough. Because why is it suffering enough? Not from any pride or anything, because we don't need to live like that. You see, it's needless, it's pointless suffering. You see? It's pointless suffering. So it's very beautiful that as we are learning to live in His will, as we are learning to live in love with Him, as we are learning to live in His light and guidance, you see, then you realize that the alternative, personal way of life was never needed anyway. It is just not needed.
So how the Maya is operating for me, at least I have tried to contemplate, and please help me. There is so those are the typical levers. Maya will have Kam, Krodh, Moh, Lobh, and Madmash. Right? The ego is one of them. So I haven't seen you focusing ever on the outcome, but last week you specifically specifically talked about anger and tried not to do it. And when I followed that last week or so, I could see Maya trying to use something else in spite of this. So it could be desires, or it could be or ego and all. And also it pushes one notch up for every time, if you just try to be cautious. So all of them, Father, has some physical symptoms before it. Anger, you will already know it's heart beating, and Moh, Mad, Maya, everything, except for the ego part, which has no symptoms at all, and it comes in.
The others get the symptoms.
Others, yes, Father. So angry, yes.
Others get the symptoms of pride. If you have pride, you don't experience symptoms, but everybody around you is experiencing the symptoms.
Okay.
The others around you, not the other affliction. That is why pride is such a tricky one. You see, so that's why anger, so good you brought that up. If you are proud, you are going to be angry. You see? And if you are angry, you are proud. And I was saying it for myself. You see? They go hand in hand. Nobody who is proud can go without being angry. You see? And anybody who is angry has to be proud. So I feel like this is a very good shortcut mechanism to talk about humility. You see, because when we talk about humility, then most of the time our mind itself is saying, but I'm quite humble, I'm humble only. You see? But the way to very directly cut it at the root is to look at anger. You see?
For your sadhana time, or still, when you are still suffering as we are suffering now, that time. So
you mean yesterday, today, when?
Not today. We are much more suffering, Father, than what you are, for sure. So in that time also, Father, it was like same, like one of these there will be season for anger, and then there will be season for Maya, lust, or what. Is this the way, or how? I mean, it's going
season in the sense.
This is like a week where the Krodh is taking over, and
in a way, it can seem like that in the season of all of this, there are particular themes which shine
dominates
on a few days. Like we talked about the mind offering a theme for the day. It offers a theme for the day and says, oh, today is my day to be guilty, or today is my day to attack everyone around me, or today is my day to like that. But if you notice also the teaching of the Atma as a theme every day, every week, it's very symphonic, but the same messages will come to you. If you're watching some satsang, if you're listening to some bhajan, you see that same message coming to you over and over again over a period of time. So that is the curriculum of the Atma. So it also uses worldly devices to make its point if we are open. So yeah, all of these are interrelated and connected. The tricks of Maya. They trap us. But if you just look at humility, and a very direct way of looking at that is anger, especially this like the quiet irritation, you see, which is like outwardly you're not saying anything, but inwardly it is. So I do that a lot. So that's what I've been working on. So I'm noticing pockets of pride, and so when I notice those, then I offer it up to God, inquire into them, and try to be free from them. So that's a way, humility is a very good foundation for our spiritual life. Very important, essential. Otherwise it can seem strange. But why Anand Mahima said, anger you have to leave. I've not seen her be that direct about any of the others, but she's very, very clear that anger we have to leave.
But all the stories we have seen, and even the Narad,
She talks about that. No?
Sure.
She talks about this also. So that's exactly the response that her Sangha gave her when she said that you have to leave. So they said, but the sages, but Durvasa, but Shiva. You see? So she says, okay, now you're saying the sages. So Durvasa got angry and turned somebody into ashes. You see, but he also had the power to pray and bring him back to life. So when you have that kind of power, then you can pray.
Sure.
And that's why I've been saying that we must not use the excuse of Shiva energy coming and all of that. When we can love like Shiva, when we can be free like Shiva, then we should say, oh, Shiva energy is coming.
Yeah, for my question was slightly different.
Actually.
So, does the personality has one of the mode of very dominant?
How?
Maya, liver, very dominant. Either it's an anger. See, because all the stories we heard, even for Narad Muni, twice he went through the same. Even in Ramayana, it will come in few pages down the line that he went in the mode of Maya, and that was always for a lady, for a family, for lust, for calm. Then second time in Krishna also it was like that. And another, all the Rishi, all goes down for Apsaras. Right? When the Maya comes attack, the first thing is about calm. Then there are some Krodh issues also. But so, when I'm trying to focus on my Maya impact, is that my personality will have one of that, and I should try to identify and work on that, like, or it's like it will use everything possible. So with your experience further.
Oh yes, from my experience, my personality has all of them. All of them. And some things may be lesser, like I'm not known to be angry, like nobody around me feel like I'm an angry person or something like that. So maybe that is a bit subdued. Maybe, I don't know, maybe greed, sweet tooth, loving mithai all the time. Yes, these kind of things could be. I'm not trying to purposely find harmless ones. It's a harmless seeming one. But there's everything in this personality still. You see? And, but as I'm getting older, I feel like settling. All these things. And I don't feel like we can automatically count on that being age. You can't just say, because sometimes older people are quite angry, and sometimes you see like really old couples, they are just constantly at each other's throats. They're just so like fighting because they become almost like siblings or something like that. No, constantly fighting. So I've seen a lot of that in families around. So that's learning for us not to go in that direction, not to move in that way. And I tell you that from experience here, that since I decided to just take it fully to heart what Maya said, it's really helped. It's really helped. Follow what Maya said in terms of the anger, to really work on my irritation. It's really helped. Yeah? So all of these things. Yeah? Yeah, lust will also go as you go along. I know it's very, very primal, very, very primal. But from my experience, when you get so deeply soaked in God's love, then you don't feel. I mean, it still comes momentarily, but it's more conclusions. But at the moment, it seems to be just a mere ashen shadow of what it used to be. So it happened. I feel like one beautiful thing that one who was talking about Saint Teresa of Avila said, he said that your lust will convert into his infinite love. It's a beautiful way to put it. But as we learn to love God and more, then all these seeming beasts will get subdued.
Last for a couple of times.
Yeah.
What I encounter frequently is that one is not sure how to deal with a lot of older relationships which come from the older version of the pre-Satsang version, very all identity based.
Correct.
Now, what's happened is that with the eternal shift, values change. So then, you're no longer grasping or trying to, be special and all that sort. So you're now, but we're still caught up because you come along the river, you haven't cut ties, and partly it's also because you're feeling that if I'm truly open and empty, then I shouldn't be concerned, because if there is no ego and really consciousness and space, then why is it troubling me if I have to go and spend a weekend hanging out with folks who are not in spiritual life or whatever. So caught between, should I be breaking down and becoming a lot more kind of secluded and staying within like-minded company because nobody's going to question you if it's wrong, or is that actually kind of like a pop-out because then what you're doing is, if you're truly open and empty, actually you're making a thought-based decision that I would suffer and, this is not for me and that for me, but again, you may make some unwise decisions and in any case, it's an identity-based reversion to something you've taken yourself to be rather than consciousness is not a person, it's just universal and nothing totally different. So this is one thing I struggle with.
Yes.
Second thing I struggle with.
One second, I'll many points to look at in that. Very, very good contemplation. We can go to the second one after this. This one is a classical one that most who turn to spirituality, especially if their earlier life was not as, like I was an atheist before, probably you were, from what I remember, you were an atheist as well. So for those friends, for those people who are used to that version of you, then to me this one can seem a bit strange and things, but it's also very uncomfortable for them. So we can empathize with them also a little bit because they don't know how to relate. They can't relate with this long-haired, big bearded one. You see, so, but also I feel like half jokingly that my hair and beard really helps. Yeah, because they see some photo on Facebook or some social media or something, I've already dealt with that discomfort and they've gone through that stuff. You see, so they don't get a shock as much when they see, because they most of them say, yes, I saw your photo, and you become a Babaji, I know you become a sadhu, whatever, you see. But their usual thing is, oh, your hair has become longer than your beard now, or some stuff, because it's just the discomfort of being able to deal with the situation, to just express something. They make some comment on some personal appearance, which really I don't remember when I used to care about. I didn't really ever care about these things, but so that's one end of it. But the more important, the bigger topic really to talk about is that, like we are saying, the pre-spirituality life and the post-spirituality life. So what is one of the main, most important things that must change in that process? You see, that most important thing that must change in the process is that where do our decisions come from? You see, so whether we talk about will or we talk about decision making, so the question of what should I do, that is a classical one in everybody's life. That what should I do next? What is my next move? You see, seems to be the topic of obsession for most of humanity. You see? So then how is that different pre and post? And maybe in that the answer for this is also there. So pre is what is the basis of decision making? Earlier?
Mind.
You decide, you evaluate, you intellectualize, or you just not even doing that irrationally, just going with your emotion, just going with your anger, your pleasure seeking or pain avoidance, all of that. Are those very, very fundamental human constructs. But to change over to the spiritual life, then the question of what I should do is left completely to the Atma within, to the holy guide. Because if Krishna can decide for me versus I decide for myself, it's literally a no-brainer. Why would I want to decide for myself if God can decide for me? So in all situations, whether to go for the retreat or not, whether to do things or not, whatever your decision may be, we have the best guide, the universal intelligence who is the creator, like Tribhuda Banai, Sangha Sahayana Duja, the one who's made all of this without any aid, without any help from anyone. That one is Sabghatvasi, that one is residing within all of us. So, if that is here with us, then let's leave all the decisions to him. That's the best part of spirituality. That you don't have to worry about what to do. And maybe to not worry about what to do first, we need to stop worrying about what will they think. Because otherwise our surrender will be a half surrender. So we'll put the constraint around his will, saying, what should I do, God, please help me. But just make sure they don't hate me, or they don't get very repulsed, or they don't get upset, or they don't get uncomfortable. Then you're putting a circle around his will, saying that these are your constraints. It's like a child saying, I'm going to go party tonight. You can only pick which of these clubs. So basically they're following their will. So when we make boundaries around God's will, saying that it's all good, I will do what you say as long as it's to go left. So the surrender of doing, the surrender of wanting is the sacrifice of our individual will moment to moment, which is a lifelong project. And like I say, every day many occasions I go with my will instead of God's will. And that's why I can mean my prayer. I can mean my prayer because I know now that my way is the way of separation. And sin is nothing but choosing separation over oneness. So I choose separation over unity with God, although I know that this life is only worthwhile if it leads to unity with God. Without spirituality, which the whole point of spirituality is to come to unity with God, and yet I pick separation every day. So it's very easy to say, I'm a foolish sinner. It's not difficult. It's like somebody knows that to go straight is the way to where you want to go to your destination, but every day you choose many times to walk in reverse. That itself is foolishness. I know, a bit of a digression, but so basically, grow a beard.
But just related to that, the second point is actually very also related. So, being open and empty, you recognize there's only God. And there's some sensations here which, if thought is not coming, there's sensations. I can sit in that for a very long period of time, and actually I do. So the net is, if we say that the waking state time is divided into a certain number of hours, I mean, the bare minimum gets done, but there isn't any engine to try to, do new things, right? So I'm just laying this before you because, I mean, I can't, I'm just saying it's not like, sort of working in a, you do this and then you just, super productive with all kinds of stuff. It's just, you just don't, like gaps or pauses when it's, open and empty. And I don't care if somebody's calling me, I don't want to pick up the phone or, look at the screen. I don't want to communicate with anybody else, at all. And it could be, so there's not a lot of time for the, for the typical work-related activities and efficiency and all that. That happens, whatever, some stuff happens, a lot of stuff, it just doesn't happen. I just surfacing because it's a very different way of living, and I'm not sure if I'm alone in this or whether it's kind of universal situation.
It's quite universal. From my experience, I have to say that very large periods of time where that life force, that energy which comes, is missing. But in a way, in this expression, has always been spurty. Spurty, like that, nothing much. And then spurts lots, in a few weeks, and then nothing much for months, then few weeks, And as I'm getting older again, and I'm noticing that the spurts are not as spurty as they used to be. They're more, but they still can be. So that's how he is providing that movement from here. And we can't predict for whom how it will be. So we can't predict. For some it may be just no life force for any outer activity at all. For some it may feel like, which is rare, and I haven't really come across that much, that the work levels on the outside seem exactly the same as they were, being fully empty, being fully with God. And for most it will be, this is that feverishness reducing, and yet when He provides the life force for it to be expended in that way, it does find its expression as well. So it's okay if grace is giving you a time where it's just Shanti, Shanti, well, that's the best. What's wrong with it? Like,
about work, like what you said, and then there's a spurt.
yeah.
And what I'm finding is that when I have that spurt, I maybe like, for example, I recently had that spurt and I hired someone, decided I will expand this, that, 2-3 things like that. And then I lost interest completely because then I went on this other thing where I was thinking, why do anything?
Yeah.
And I don't know, so actually when you go through this spurt, then you have to live through the consequences of it, and you have to clean up the whole goddamn thing. I feel like tired, and I feel like telling myself that, next time you get such motivation, that stop and think a little bit.
Stop is good. Stop is good. To just allow it to unfold slowly without rushing from the heart is very, very good. But that's a good way to put it, no? That let it be a spurt, not a rocket launch into the other force field. So the spurt is when we are in the heart, we continue to be there, but He provides you with some additional life force, life energy for that activity to happen with the propensity. But in that propensity, we should not launch ourselves into the realm of Maya. That is very important. And very good you brought that up, because it could be like that. You could say, thank you for saying that, because many of you then could have said, oh, but it's that spurt phase. Spurt is happening. But actually you spurted to the next, to the wrong place. That is
Father,
not
I have one more.
Yeah.
Sorry. I recently, now this is where we really, this whole journey, and like you said, full-time job, is quite a job, because I felt like I'm in a great zone, I'm open and empty. And so in that period, where this was the non-spurt period,
Yeah.
and I was, maybe internally feeling quite satisfied with my state of non-mind, I thought. And but in that time, when you look back, what happened in that time is that somebody managed to commit with me a cyber fraud.
Okay.
So without thinking, I gave some details away, and then I lost money, and I now have to file FIR and all. But luckily, not so bad. But I then looked back at that time and I said, look, if I was really in the correct place, and I was, would this have happened? Like, I'm asking myself, does this mean that actually I was not in the correct place? And then I asked myself, but then maybe such things happening are also just part of Maya's play, and maybe you don't need to be so involved in the outcome of when you are in the zone or out of the zone, because if you're so involved in the outcome of that, when I'm really with the right energy, then my things will work out, then nobody will commit any, with me, whatever, if things work out. Then I felt that then, yeah, that somewhere that didn't also seem correct. So I'm just sitting with these thoughts.
So, yes, to be in God's presence doesn't give us a cheat code into the world of Maya. Yeah? It's a shield. It's an umbrella against suffering, against misery. But doesn't mean that a scammer calls you and you're sitting in the heart. So like, you're a scam. Because God is telling you he's a scam. I mean, it could happen, but that's not necessarily how it has to play out. So we can't judge any of that. We cannot judge servitude to God with any of the worldly outcomes and how it should go for us. So, and the mind loves to do this, that if you're really sitting in God's presence, then this couldn't have happened to you. Of course it could. Of course it could. There's no... And given that I read somewhere that this FedEx scam, this telecom scam, all of these scams are made like 500-600 crores last year. So the revenue is almost that of a very large conglomerate. Or not conglomerate these days, but at least a corporation. So obviously there are many of us who've fallen into these things. But that's not a gauge of how spiritual you are. Because the mind uses these things to beat us up also. That it beats up on our spirituality by saying, see, what? My.
Yesterday or maybe the day before, this person, first it began a few days ago, this man telling me that he's calling me from the customs, that something is stuck there. He's a custom officer speaking. I said,
But,
which
yeah,
officers want to call me? So I said, I haven't said anything, I don't want to talk to you. And I put it down.
But we put the message on the group, no? A rare non-Satsang message I posted on the group
But I
because
forgot.
so many of us were getting pulled into this.
Yesterday when this man
Somebody
called,
sent a story, no? That
Garima put it, they
their
told me.
parent, his dad got scammed, and many friends, relatives are getting into this because you get scared that your packet was found with drugs in customs, and this kind of stuff is designed to make you feel scared. So especially older people don't want to get into this kind of.
So yesterday he told me, or day before, just before Shweta came and said that the same thing, it's lying in the customs, and I said, okay, but I didn't send anything. No, but they've used your name, so they've created a fraud, and you sent it to China and Taipei, and it's got RDX or whatever, okay? So I said, then he says, now I'm going to connect you.
But you know what is surprising? Is that it's happening to you now.
No, but what is surprising is because you told me don't get angry.
How didn't the number come earlier in the database?
I don't know. So then he said, but you said don't get angry. So I saw myself getting irritated. I said, but Father said, don't be angry. So I said, okay, I'm not getting angry. And I said, okay, you can't connect me to, what did he want me to connect me to? The cybercrime. He's connecting me on a voice. So I said, wait, first I'll connect with my lawyer. If she tells me to talk to you, then you call me back. Right now. But it helped me not to get angry, because or to really blow my fuse and blow him up or whatever. And I said, I just kept listening. Then something struck me and I said, no. But thank you. I mean, it really helped not to be angry and to turn
So you know
God
what we should do?
and ask, what should I do, Krishna? Now what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do now?
That's the best. But second option is, if you want to know what to do, you should just keep these people engaged. So they can't scam other people. No, they can't scam other people. No, they have limited time. So just it's a scam, so keep talking to them. Acha,
I sent it 3 weeks back. Why didn't it reach till?
So they know. But they won't waste time on that. So when they know that somebody is just fooling around, they just cut the phone because they have limited resource of time. Right? So if you just talk to them and say, like that, I sent package. So take like 1 hour.
No, my cousin told me because you talk so long now, they must have taken all your bank
No, it's
account
very good
details.
because in that 1 hour, how many people they would have called?
I did
So
call the
those who
bank.
know about it should take their time. They just like, acha, like that.
She said, it's a fraud on your name. I said, it's not fraud. I only said. So they really she wasn't back for it.
They already realized. Cut the call soon.
5 minutes.
We obviously notice our foolishness. We obviously notice the times where we follow our own will instead of staying with God's will. Now, what do we do with that? That is really important. You see? So we notice the foolishness, therefore we are repentant about what we've done. But what to do with that repentance? Yeah? If you bring it to God, yeah, then in His love He converts that into a deeper love, a deeper humility, a deeper faith. But if we give this to our mind, then the mind converts it into a despair, a despondency, which is more mindy, and then in that state, we are committing more foolishness. You see? I'm not saying you're doing that, I'm just saying that when we come across something like that, and as we deepen in our prayer, more and more the things which we've been selfish about, the things that we've wanted our own way about, get revealed to us. You see? But they get revealed not so that we can get caught up in the mind more and more. They only get revealed so that we can offer them up to God in the temple of our heart. We can look at them in our inquiry and be free from that condition. So that is why that beautiful prayer, I played it at the end of Satsang the other day, open to me the gates of repentance. It can sound like a very strange prayer. You see, because repentance sounds like suffering. Who wants to open the gates to suffering? Saying to God, open the gates to suffering for me. Well, this repentance is not that. This repentance means that my blind spots are coming into view and they're being surrendered to God, and we are getting free of them. Otherwise, if we feel like, oh, I'm always in God's will, I'm never stuck in Maya, I'm always praying, I'm always empty, I'm always inquiring. I have nothing to be repentant about. Why are we asking God for His mercy? I don't need mercy. So when these things start being shown to us, we realize that, like Ananta-Part said, quoting Tulsidas, saying that we are so lucky that God is Kripalu and not just, what is the Hindi for just forgetting? So He is merciful, and He is not doing justice, because if He was to do justice, then there is so much foolishness here that He could judge. So we pray for His mercy, and those who cannot pray for His mercy feel like they have no foolishness in their life. You see, either have not understood the project, or they must be some really great sages. Because if sages like Ananta-Part talking about Tulsidas have said, and as we continue reading the Ramcharitmanas, you will see that Tulsidas is just so humble. And he says, I am the worst of the worst. See? So how is it that the greatest sages like Kabirji, that Tulsidas, and is it that they are lying and being just showing humility? See? Can a sage like that lie? Or just for effect's sake? Can't be. But what does happen is that their sensitivity to their foolishness changes. What is acceptable to them in their heart changes. And that, I feel like the biggest is that which creates an inward sense of disconnection. You see? That there's really no tolerance left for that. Yeah? So all of us have to really become inner explorers so deeply that we notice very clearly the things that cause an inner sense of disconnection. You see? That we feel like to remain inward facing is not, I don't want to do it right now, I don't feel like doing it right now. And there's no like magnetism in that, there's no gravitation there. What happens after you've been inward facing for quite some time? There's like a gravitation, isn't it? It's just something holds you, and you hold it, and it holds you, isn't it? But when that disconnection happens, then there's no gravitation. You just feel like there's more gravitation here. You see? So I know that we're pushing the force fields thing quite a bit, but it works like that. So the more inward facing we are, the more we are grounded, steady, like that. The more outward facing we are, the more it seems to attract us, pull us in. It just wants us to do more and more. That's why we have to be really careful of that time where we say, just a little, just this, which is okay. It's not complete, like no, but remember that it was meant to be just a little. Yeah. God has never left anyone.
I mean, if I see that, I mean, in the worst of times, I mean, it even was always there, you know. I went lived in this one. It came, brought me to Guruji, got me here. I mean, it's His full grace and mercy, even if I didn't, you know. I mean, I can't bank on that. Now I have to really not just, you know what I'm saying.
To use a little bit of a metaphor, the exams we get when we are in nursery or first standard or in Montessori, let's say fourth standard, may not be the same as you get in college or university. So when we don't know His grace is, of course, blessing us. You see, when we don't know His grace is blessing us, keeping into account that we don't know. You see? But once you come to satsang, you made things more difficult for yourself. You see? Because now you do know. And to know and to be reminded over and over again every day, and still turn towards the ego and to still turn towards the world, you see, then is not the right way to live, not the best. Not that any of you are doing that, but it's just so the grace keeps becoming deeper, but in the deeper grace, many times it can seem like a deeper test. Like a deeper test of letting go, like the deeper we are holding on to things. If you're holding on to things strongly, then many times it will seem like a bigger sacrifice is needed to be with God. Yeah, you notice how if you're a beginner and you start meditating or doing inquiry or praying, many times His presence is just naturally so palpable. You see? But as if you deepen in our spirituality, strangely enough, I mean, it is become more and more natural. But if you've been egoic for a very short period of time, then, and again, I'm reporting about myself only, but you can sense a very strong disconnection that can happen almost immediately. You see? So to follow that inner compass is very, very important. And we must not lose track of that. It's really important to be with that, especially when life is giving us all the reasons to turn away from that. So we're asking rhetorically at the beginning that what are 10 good reasons to leave God's presence and get involved in Maya? And of course there are none. There is no good reason ever except pride, which is not a good reason. At the bottom. Father,
How do I know whether I'm getting deeper into my sadhana or I'm just stuck at a plateau?
Well,
And I know it's a mind question, but it's bothering.
no, it's a good question, but the thing is that if you don't know, then you're probably not going in deeper, in the sense that it is unmistakable, see? But give me a sense of how your days go.
I do ADS in the morning, and actually there's some chant or the other all the time. Sometimes even I don't know what it is. Sometimes it could be the Hanuman Chalisa, sometimes it could be something else. I then have to focus and see what is it. So it's very peaceful, but it's peaceful, and I feel there's something I need to do. I mean, not me as a person, but as me as a person.
Right. So, but why some chant or the other? Why not your prayer?
I don't know, Father. I'm not doing it consciously. I
why
notice it, then I realize कि अरे ये तो हनुमान चालीसा चल रही है.
Why don't you just pray constantly, consciously?
I may be working or I don't know, because this is maybe I need to do that.
You must.
Yeah, that's
Unceasing prayer, not incidental. Of course, it's very comforting that like a beautiful bhajan is still playing inwardly.
Yeah.
It's very comforting and reassuring. But your intention should be to be in Nirantar Japa, in unceasing prayer.
Yeah, that I'm not doing.
So you start your day in God's presence using the tool of the ADS, and then remain in unceasing prayer.
So there's unceasing gratitude, there's recognition of the grace all around. All that is there.
Yeah.
But unceasing prayer,
remembrance of God's name, God's presence, God's light, His love, will only come if you're either praying all the time or you're truly empty all the time. And if you feel like you can't pray all the time, then it's unlikely that you can just naturally be empty all the time.
so you think I should consciously?
Yeah. You must. See? Because then once we consciously decide to do it, then we are able to even diagnose our life. Without beginning in this way, we don't even know how much time really goes on the mind, how much time. See, because the mind's report about how we are can be completely different, and to make sure that you don't deepen in your spirituality. Yeah, so try for a few days.
Yes.
So just reverse the situation where the prayer is what you're fully with and the outer is incidental. Not the outer being work and all of that being the main, and the fact that some japa, something is going on incidentally.
Not something I suddenly notice and feel good about.
Okay. It is beautiful, but it's beautiful at a particular level. Now you have to transform your life to unceasing prayer. So then you will be able to unceasingly be in His presence. Otherwise, which is very different from the mind speculating whether we are in His presence, in His will, unceasingly. So, so prayer, if you're doing the ideas, otherwise unceasing inquiry, like that story of Bhagwan sending, forgetting the name, but sending that sage who became a sage to a hut outside the ashram and said, now Annamalai Swamiji. So said, you say in that hut the ashram is too distracting for you. You always get involved in things. So you go sit in that hut and unceasingly do the inquiry.
Yes.
Yeah. And if this is true for such close bhaktas of Bhagwan, then it's true for all of us.
Yes. They are very complementary, Father. The prayer and the inquiry and
The same.
yeah. Thank you. Yes.
These rules to stop praying. Can I give you the ones I fall for?
Yeah, I guess you can. Just make sure. If I fall for one of them, then you all have to save me.
I just suddenly forgot. But I'll just start from somewhere. I had it worked out, but it's like what Arvind was also saying, what friends, old friends, no? And that's one thing. Like I'm praying, I get a call and I pick it, like picking up, I choose to not pray and I pick up. And then I have a conversation and somehow it goes somewhere. And we make
Whenever you're on a call with a friend, you lose the prayer?
mostly, yeah. And now I remember the other ones also. Sometimes I it's like when you said the
Just
name.
try to have this conversation while continuing to be inward facing.
Okay.
That's good practice. not like in a convoluted way where half the attention is like that. Just stay with God. Stay with your heart temple. Doesn't have to be with attention, just intuitively. You can only do it intuitively. Don't leave your heart and speak from there.
Intuitively be.
Yeah. It comes. I know it sounds impossible to do because the mind has no tools like that. But you can stay with God. Okay, let me put it another way. It's not a feeling, but suppose that Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, Lord Jesus was holding your hand, or any of them that you resonate with, or whoever you resonate with, is just holding your hand and you're continuing to move around in the world. How would you feel?
To imagine that, or
Yeah, imagine for a bit, it's okay.
I do imagine that sometimes. And
It's okay, for now you can imagine that. This life, He's with you. Because it's true. But we've forgotten, but we have lost the recognition of that. So stay with God. No,
right now you're telling me to do that.
Yeah, so you practice. And Satsang is the safe space where you can practice without people calling you stupid.
I sometimes, like when thoughts come, I try to say, what is Jesus saying? That's one thing that I read from some book. Let His word be the first and then break your silence.
Right?
That's something I try. Right now I'm not doing it. I don't know if I'm doing it. I just sit in silence and nothing happens. And He hasn't spoken yet.
You're practicing as we are speaking, or
I'm
you're
not sure. It's not coming from the presence.
Yeah. Again, I'm not saying that we must become strange. It's just that you're grounded in the heart. Does Antarmukhi mean that we are just, with our attention only we are inward facing? No, it doesn't mean that. Then no sage would ever open their eyes. Or they're leaving God. That's not what it is. You just something, I don't know how to explain it actually. Something is still inward while our activities are outward. in a way, we can be poetic about it and say, if you are in love, then we are still in a constant remembrance of the beloved while our work may be on the outside or something like that. But it's not even like that, somewhat like that. Okay. So then how to do that is the best way is to just try and pray all the time.
It's also
Yeah.
And then at that time, what did you do with prayer?
Huh? It happens naturally. No? Like when you're praying all the time, then the distribution of attention just happens naturally.
That's what is okay.
Recharge. As much as you can. Not the minimum, but the maximum. Maximum amount of space available to give to God, we must give. Not minimum. That's why I said, no? That sometimes the question is that should I do my full day's prayer, or should I just do the japa, or what should I do? And I know the intention is to say that, can I just do the short one instead of the full ADS prayer? So that's why I was saying that if you're in a work meeting and things are just flying around you and people are saying da da dee dee da 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 something, you see, and in the middle of all that battle, you can still remember Ram once every 1 minute, 2 minutes. That itself is very high prayer. But if you're free, you're just whiling away your time, there's nothing really happening, and then you just like tick in the box around. Then that's just tick in the box. It is better than nothing, a million times better than nothing. But then to fully offer yourself up and pray to Him, like using the words of the prayer, and the prayer has come from grace in such a way that it can lead to deeper conversations, it can lead to deeper communion with God. So when you ask Him for mercy, when you ask to be blessed in your heart by the light of Spirit, then it opens the door for us to actually be able to communicate more with Him, which continues to be then our prayer. So that's why it's very important that the deepest possible, the maximum possible of ourselves we can give in that given situation.
that maximum possible, there is some leeway to kind of push it aside.
Huh?
It's maximum possible, it's not the
Yes,
maximum.
but it's not that you have to give an exam on it one day. It's just you know in your heart whether you're being true to it or not. You know in your heart.
Like, is it good to gradually get there to Nirantar?
No. If you decide that you will do it gradually, then it will happen super gradually. If you decide 100%, then it will happen gradually. But if you decide only gradually, then it's long project. See, because gradually means you are setting yourself up for laxity, for not giving your all to it. You see, when you decide to give it your all, like when I decide to give it my all, I fail a million times still. You see, so if I decided to give my 50%, then I would fail a zillion times. Okay.
I heard you say this, but somehow I still don't do it, and
This is how Maya works. That's
like another
keep
reason.
reinforcing the thing. That's how Maya works, because you know what is Maya's greatest tool? The ability to rationalize. Yeah. It can rationalize anything as long as it turns you away from God.
Like one of these rationalizations, which is very spiritual.
Yeah.
Like you told us that it's your intention. Every moment, if your intention is to find Him and be with Him or be with Him. And this also, I found one rationalization that came was, so now going there, friends, meeting, all of that, then it's like my intention matters. And we've heard so many times, you said before that make it about God, and that Brother Lawrence, to pick up a straw in the name of God is enough. So it's like, okay, my intention is to go there, have fun and do all those things and relive memories, all of that. But I can change my intention while doing that to make it about God. Like I go to a workshop and then it's selfless service, and if I see an opportunity to
So intention, if your intention is God, you cannot have intention number 2.
like when you say okay,
So if you're saying that I'm going to be with God,
yeah,
whether friends show up in this outer play or whether I'm sitting alone in a cave, my intention to be with God doesn't change.
the way I can be with God can change. Like if I'm not thinking about myself, my sadhana, my practice, my
Yeah,
decisions.
that can also be egoic if you're just mostly thinking my. Huh? It is just God. See, what helped me the most and may be helpful for all of us is to know that He knows us really well. And He knows us in every moment. You see? He knows our exact intention. He knows when we are fooling ourselves. He knows when we are being sincere. He knows when we are struggling, when we are weak, when we are strong. He knows every moment. And He knows in the sense that we forget in a few minutes, He knows. You see? So that audience of one is really important. And you have access to what He knows in your heart. That's why when I say that you know in your heart, you see, your mind may rationalize and say, but I gave it my 100%. You see? And your heart may say, I gave it my 100%. You see? But if your heart is saying, no, I kind of didn't really give it my all, but I'm going to now. You see? Sometimes we're just scared to turn towards what we know in our heart. It seems a bit uncomfortable to visit that. But it is the most loving teacher in the world. The Atma is the most loving teacher in the world, in the universe. So it's very important that we really embark on this journey of the discipleship of the Atma. It's really important.
What
Many of you may be still trying to do this spiritual journey without the Spirit, without the assistance, without the guidance of the Atma within. Because your mind has made a rationalization for it saying, oh, but I haven't found the Spirit. You see? But have you not been told about how to? You have been told about how to. That even if the presence of Spirit is not palpable for you, how to be in the light of the Spirit, you have been told every satsang. But many times we've continued to make spirituality into a personal strategy for happiness rather than a strategy for discipleship. Don't spend this entire life without meeting your Atma within and being a disciple of the true Guru, which is the Sadguru presence within. How to do that? We've been given by God's grace such simple ways. Just pray all the time. Don't waste a moment thinking, what about me, when me, why me. Don't waste time. And secondly, inquire and ask, who am I? But who am I really? If it's sincere, it's very simple, the inquiry. In the sense, the way to inquire is very simple. Who am I? But it cannot be a hobby. It cannot be a part-time job. You cannot say one of my interests is spirituality. It's like saying one of my interests is oxygen. Maybe interested in oxygen. Literally, life itself is the presence of God. Yeah. Okay, let's go to Kesha. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just using a different earbuds, so. Whew. I feel really nervous right now for some reason, but
Right.
there's like a lot wrong with me, you know? And
No, I don't know.
you know more than I know. But
Yeah. No, sure. There's a lot of room for all of us to grow. And that is true for all of us. I don't feel like I can say that there's anything wrong with any of my children in particular.
yeah, but you're you, and you wouldn't say that probably, but I had this dream where I shared with everybody, like with the Sangha, like all of my sins.
Yeah.
And then you said to share 10 reasons why we leave God.
Yeah.
And I wrote like 30. And
I saw some of that. So let me see one thing. That if you said that I have only one force field, which is that of Maya, okay, and then I don't have any other force field that pulls me into inside my heart, then I was said, okay, this needs some serious help. There's something wrong here, you see. But no, nobody in Satsang, nobody in the world actually can say that all they experience is Maya. Okay? So, because at least a moment of unconditional love everyone has experienced. At least a moment of pure joy from the heart everyone has experienced. So, nobody can say that we are broken in that way. Nobody is broken in that way. So, really, the question is, what are we going to focus on? Are we going to focus on Maya, or are we going to focus on God? And that is really the same choice that we speak of every time, that both have gravitational pulls. You see, usually Maya seems more compelling, it pulls us in, but you see, but we have to learn to cut the cords of that gravitation and turn to God and stay there. Turn inward facing and stay there. Mm-hmm. You know what inward? What is inward?
yeah.
Tell me.
Well, when you say it, it's like, it feels like it's like a unclenching, like ungrasping of everything, and just a complete letting go and self-surrender, you know, and just a relaxation and even a kind of a looking is there
Exactly.
too, like there's looking and seeing and just like continuing to
Very good. Very good.
look and see. But it's not a content. I'm not
Exactly.
looking or seeing anything. It's
So why don't we always stay like that?
because there's nothing there or something, like
And that is okay.
to
that's-
grasp.
Yes, that's an excellent point. That when we face inwards in this way, which is empty with inner insight, intuitive insight, you see, which is not separate, which is not two things. So this is inward facing. In our heart, we never feel like there is nothing there, isn't it? In our
Yeah.
heart, we never feel like there is nothing there, because in a way, if we didn't sleep for many days, we will do anything to get sleep. So we want to get into that so-called nothing, but actually nothing, because there is great peace, there is great relaxation, there is great freedom from personality, from egotism, from the world. All of that is there. You see? On the other hand, Maya in its design has so many layers. There's this world of colorful appearances. You see, both contrasts, sugar and salt, everything is there. In every layer of our existence, our emotions, our mind, thoughts, memories, images. There's so much to play with in this realm of Maya. You see? So, and that is why it needs faith to remain with this apparent nothing, which is actually no thing, the most beautiful, pristine place, versus the compelling nature of experiential, sensory appearances. You see? So that is the whole game, that is the whole project. It's not about fixing something here so that it seems more spiritual. It's not about adjusting the Lego blocks in this Lego world to make it seem like the perfect combination. It's about none of that. And yet God in His grace, because He realized that the Maya that He has created is so compelling, so He also created some escape hatches, escape routes out of that Maya into His heart, into His love, into His light. But then what does the mind do? The mind says, no, but my escape hatch, it's too close to my door, actually. It should be next to my window. It's too narrow. It should be a bit broader. Then we try to include the alarm clock, the escape hatch into the dream. You see? And that's what gets us into trouble. And then,
Can you explain more about
yes,
that?
so in the
What do you
sense
mean?
that it becomes, we start, our spirituality itself becomes part of a worldly sort of narrative, a worldly comparison system, a worldly, all of these things, where we lose, like the mind is winning in a very big way because we lose sight of what that alarm clock is for.
The spirit.
We lose sight of what the escape hatch is leading us to.
Oh, yeah.
It's like there's a okay, it's actually the opposite of that, but this metaphor is coming. So it's like instead of throwing the garbage down the garbage chute, you see, we are just making it decorative, and we are putting things around it, and so the whole point of it is to use it and to dispose of ourself, our false self, but to use it to add to ourselves, then becomes the Maya's great tactic, where we end up falling for that trick. So So we must use every opportunity, everything that shows up, even in Maya, to remind us of God, acknowledge God, come what may. We must stay in His light, in His presence. And if you can say that I can turn to Him, but I don't, you see, then there's never a good reason for that. Of course, the mind will convince you that I can't, but you know in your heart, all of us know in our heart that we can. Tell me if any of your hearts say that I can't actually turn. You see, because even to go to your heart, you would have turned already. So have you all encountered these times where we just don't want to? You see? And if we can admit to ourselves that there are so many times where we just don't want to, and then it becomes apparent to us that the choice is in our hand, whether we're being with Maya or we are being with God. You see? Then we can face the spiritual life head on. But if you feel that Maya itself has a magical hold over me which I can't break, you see, then we are really only considering ourselves to be flesh and blood and not really consciousness or an aspect of consciousness, whichever way we want to look at it.
Yeah.
Have you all seen that the push and pull is really strong? Of course, Maya pulls us in. But it can't make us fall without our nod. At least that much we must have noticed.
Yeah. It really is like the trick is that it's like of choosing not to when we have the tools and then pretending like that we didn't choose it.
Yeah. And to just shine some light on this, I was just illustrating the point at the beginning of Satsang. Like if our intention is to be prayerful or inquiring or to be empty all the time, then how can we get into these states? Because we have to feed ourselves at least 500 thoughts to suffer. Okay, so let's say I want to suffer for a day. How many thoughts do you need to eat for that? What is the bad? Huh? Can you suffer with one thought for a day?
If you replay it.
Exactly, but so that repetition and buying is one more count. So the same thought 500 times or 500 different thoughts doesn't matter. But try to suffer for the whole day. Like try to suffer for 1 minute just with one thought. Can't do it. So it's a lot of work to suffer actually. So rather than do that work, do the work of prayer. Do the work of being with God. How long can one thought not repeatedly believed in make us miserable? Just one that crossed and you said, yes. Notice the aftertaste. How long does it last? Every thought has an aftertaste, but how long does it last? Okay, that's more than my experience, but
1 second.
it's okay, it can vary, it's fine. So, it's fine. But then, to continue to suffer, what do you need to do? So, you need to, again, regurgitate that thought. And keep ourselves in that situation. Compared to this, actually, the prayer life, God, the prayer of being, or the life of being in God's presence seems much simpler. Is it? And the most important thing is that we're losing the battle for time. And we only lose the battle of time because we think we have time.
Yeah.
So if this game was just half an hour, be with God and you can be in His eternal presence forever, or half an hour with the mind and you can suffer for the rest of your life, is it forever? Then what would you do? You would try your very best for that half an hour. You'd say, it's only half an hour now. Now is make or break. Is it? But because we feel like these days keep coming and they go, they come and they go, soon that half an hour is coming. Yeah? Don't create rationalizations. Do not be with God. None of us should do that. Because there's never a good enough reason. Oh, but I, oh, but I, oh, but I, oh, but I. Yeah?
So many.
It sounds like a very comfortable way that we reason with ourselves and we convince ourselves that today I can't be with God because this. Today I can't be with God because this. Tomorrow I can't be because this. Day after I can't be because this. How many days of our life just keep going like this? Is it?
Is it because like the mind always needs a reason? Like, is it part of the fear of just completely like letting go or something? That these rationalizations are needed?
No, because we want to make, like, we hate dissonance. Like, because we know that the true way to live is to live with God's presence. You see? And yet we fall in for the tricks of the mind. So that would make it too uncomfortable unless we've given ourselves a good reason. Yeah, but today my body's in pain. Okay? Yeah, but today there's so much happening. Yeah, but today is the annual work review. Yeah, but today, every day, but today there's something for all of us. Okay? And if we were to do it without reason, then we feel really stupid. And we don't want to feel stupid, so we attach rationales to it.
Like, is it an avoidance of God or a fear of letting go?
It is just an avoidance of the fact that we realize that we should be with God, but we are being with Maya instead. You see, what does the rationalization provide us? It provides us a sort of excuse to not stay with God, a sort of a validity for our worldly day. I won't say worldly life, but at least for a worldly day or for a worldly minute, we've created a rationalization for it.
Yeah, but why?
How am I saying all of this? Because this is what I do. How do I have such deep insight into it? Because this is exactly what I do. If I have gone my own way, if I have not followed His will, I have a reason. I'm never without reason. And that's what makes me foolish. Because that reason is foolish. Why do we do it? Because that is the design of Maya. You see, if Maya did not come with a compelling design like this, who is going to pick Maya over God? Who's going to pick? On one hand is God, on the other hand, there are just some ephemeral experiences which are going to die. Who's going to pick Maya? Nobody. So it comes with a narrator. You see, it comes with its own top class salesperson who is selling you the story. And how many years have we seen that we can't suffer without a story?
Yeah, I don't always see it, but yes.
All of us have been talking about this for many years.
Yeah.
That this has been the overarching theme of satsang for more than a decade now. That to suffer we need a story. So Maya cannot cause suffering without this lawyer selling us a story.
Yeah.
And you know how it starts? Yes, but. Yes. I've heard this yes, but either quietly or loudly for many years. Sometimes it's just quiet under your breath. You're like, yeah, but. And those two words, yes, but, I could have said 1,000 words before that. It's all negated in those two words, yes, but. Yeah, but. And that but is the rationalization which I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It is counter to everything you hear in satsang and whatever is being pointed to in satsang is, yeah, but. Because the mind knows you well enough now not to say, no, no, no. Is it? Because if it was to violently, only, not that it doesn't violently attack me, but only violently attack me, then the love in your heart for me would rebel against that. So it doesn't do that. Many of the times it's just, yeah, but, So it's a very, very fine-tuned technique of the mind to keep us caught in hell, to keep us caught in Maya, while holding on to our own individuality, our own righteousness, with just two words. Because I could have explained everything by God's grace. The words may just have shed light on everything that needs to be seen. But just with this simple, yeah, but something.
Yeah. That's, yeah. It's like
So
when.
what are we actually doing? Is it? If with the yeah, but we were returning to our true place, then please use it. Is it? But with the yeah, but we are cementing our place in hell.
So true.
Misery, trouble to ourselves with this seeming intellectual motion of what is right. The choice
It's like there's
is very, very simple every moment.
Well, it's seen more and more. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you. Sorry. No, it's not. Okay. It's rude.
Then I would get an award for the rudest one.
No. You are allowed that pass.
I just feel comfortable that all of us are good enough where we don't have to worry about these things. So, what I was saying is that really, moment to moment, these two spheres are available to us. Okay? Hell or heaven, Maya or God's light. That's all that it boils down to, actually.
Yeah.
If you take all the complicated stuff out, all the confusing things out, right now, God or Maya?
That's it, yeah. That's what I was going to say, Father, is like it was seen so clearly that there is no half step in God. Like there is no, it's not light and then sort of light, or it's God or darkness. It's love or it is violence. Like there is no in between. Like there is no halfway or kind of, and I'm still in God, or like I can still kind of indulge in this and still be in God. There is no halfway in between. And
that's very good.
It's either love or hate.
Yeah. But I want to make one point about this, is that sitting in either sphere, we can make that conclusion.
Yeah.
So which sphere are we sitting in? In either sphere, you see, we can be in Maya and say, yes, it's all just black and white. I have to be with God. You see, there's no halfway, there's no half measures. Or you can be sitting in God's presence and sharing the same words, which is actually the sharing of Satsang. You see? To sit in God's light and to allow that to be seen and to be shared from there is the sharing of Satsang. So even our intellect,
Which sphere am I in? So are you asking?
even our spiritual conclusions are valuable when we are sitting in the right place.
Yeah.
So where are we right now?
In that moment of sharing, I was in the Maya sphere, but the recognition came when I was in the other sphere.
Yes, very, very good. Very, very good. This is such an important point, especially for those who are going to share God's light, and I hope all of you are. Don't fall into that trap ever of having true insights, but feeling like you need to go to your intellect to make words out of them. Continue to stay in your heart. Allow everything to unfold from there. Because if you fall into that trap, what's going to happen is that it's going to become stale, and you will soon just be speaking spirituality from your intellect. You see? And to make that effective, you will start to become performative. Once you start to become performative in your spiritual sharing, to turn back is very difficult, especially if it is working.
But Father, if we start speaking from the intellect from past insight, can it not eventually evolve into present, like an alive insight? Like, can it not be helpful to eventually help us get there?
Yes, but if someone had access to the whole meal, then why settle for just a ticket to the meal? You see? So what I'm saying is that if you don't know how to go to the restaurant or order room service, then to say that yes, I have this 20% discount coupon will ultimately help me when I'm ordering. You see? But you can order right now.
Yeah.
So why settle for intellectual conclusion when you can come to true insight right now? And what is what can seem very irritating in Satsang is that the Lego house really become much heavier to hold up. The Lego house of the narratives, of the framework of narrative, but because it seems like we've taken effort to build that up, it can seem irritating that this man wants to just throw it all down. Yes, choose God. Choose God, especially when it seems difficult. Don't replace God with some reason. What's that going to help? It's like replacing, I don't know why so many food examples. Replacing an actual thali with a photo of a thali. Yeah? You can't do anything with it. Like, what can you do with the reason?
Suffer, feel weight, feel pain. I don't know.
And is there any good thing that can come out of having a reason? Just
A moment of like excitement, I guess.
a moment of feeling right, a moment of feeling that I'm being correct, I'm being rational.
Yeah. Hmm.
But that as a replacement for God,
Hmm. Yeah, I'm learning.
I lost track of time, but let's go to the reading.
Oh, sorry, Father.
So,
Sorry. Thank you.